Second.
To express that Councilmember Sherlock is disappointed that she can't be with us today and due to a schedule conflict, and we hope to see her in March. First on our agenda is general public comments. Seeing no one from the public here, we will move on to our first business item. Budget amendment number 21, record donation given to police department. Cliff?
Thank you. Because this is revenue that we need to record in the police department budget so that they can spend this donation, we need a budget amendment to recognize the expenditure and to match the revenue. And moving forward, to avoid this, we're just going to put a donation line item in the police budget so we can just deposit it there and you won't have to do this.
Very good. Council, can I have a motion to approve budget amendment number 21?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Second business item, Public Works building improvements. Someone's going to talk to us about this.
Public
Cliff,
Works
thank you.
Director David Bradley is going to come up and present to you what we got. We got bids, a bid in, timely bid in, and that's what he's going to present to you for renovations to the Public Works building.
Very good. Welcome, David.
Good morning.
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 Flores Design Studios put together some drawings for us to renovate the existing office and bathroom and add a break room down at the Public Works shop. We also looked at adding a couple of exhaust fans and insulating the entire shop. And we put that out with 4 contractors. We got one bid back. The base bid amount was $102,810 with some add-ons there. And that's what we've got for you.
So total expenditure would be potentially
Looks like 151.
151, 130?
151, 130, yes, ma'am. And that includes the work done by Flores.
Okay. And in terms of like getting the building up to code, this will be in line with
Yes, ma'am.
that? Okay.
Because of we don't have to go out for a second round of bids.
It's informal.
Oh, okay.
I attempted to get 4, but only
Yeah, I
one.
understand, but sometimes even, you get one, you still have to go back.
Right. Being
It's not in the formal range, so we're good.
Okay.
Okay. Council, anybody have any questions for David?
Just fix the hole in the roof. Has all that been fixed over there?
The hole in the roof.
the whole, yes, sir.
Where the roof is all sealed now? Before we
Yes, sir.
Spin this inside? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll have no leaks? Okay.
Well,
All right.
we assume we'll have no leaks.
We assume we'll have no leaks. but
And
I'm
you know what
counting on
happens
no
when you
leaks.
assume.
Okay. No, I don't. All the time, never. All right, okay.
Any other questions for David? Council, can I have a motion to approve budget amendment number 22 in the amount of 151, 130?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
I can't wait for the improvements to the building. This is going
How
to really
soon
make,
can this be done?
90 days.
The contractor, I believe, said he would have it done in 90 days, but he's ready to go.
Oh, good. You'll have it for summer.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully.
Okay, condition, okay,
Thank you.
cool.
right. Our next item is
Fee for
amendment to fee schedule.
our receptacle lids.
Cliff?
Yep. As you probably know, Joel Newton, who volunteers with SSCA, has been putting broken lids, replacing broken lids. I think he does wheels and axles too. But the supplier of the lids, he was buying 1 and 2 and 3 lids at a time. The vendors told him that they'll no longer ship that. He's got to order 25 at a time, which is more than a volunteer should have to front. So what we've worked out is the town will purchase the lids. He'll still be the volunteer. He'll still put them on, and he'll collect a $45 check to cover the cost of that lid payable to the town. And so in order for us to charge the fee, we got to amend the fee schedule. So that's what this is.
Very good. Any questions, council?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve the fee schedule change?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Seems like a really good thing for the community.
Yes. Hopefully get those cans looking better.
All right, so that was the quick go through of those, and now we're on to budget overview discussion.
I'm going to ask Bonnie to carry most of this
Okay.
load. But the items that we wanted to discuss, she's going to go over the revenues and expenditures, take a look at the fund balance, and we know we've got some potentially big ticket items coming up. Take a look at the capital reserve, talk a little bit about employee benefits and stormwater improvements. The one thing, and I guess we can talk about this under capital improvement planning. In your packet, you have a list of streets that we'd like to put out the bid that are kind of year 2, part of year 3. If you're in agreement, we've got the funds budgeted, so we don't need a budget amendment or a motion for any of that. But I just want to make sure when we get to that you're okay with putting those streets out to bid.
This is part of the 10-year plan, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the plan that SEPI presented.
Good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning, good morning. So, I think, I have it on my papers.
That's the general fund there.
Good morning, council. What I wanted to do, I think that we included in your packet, I went to the North Carolina Capital Management Trust meeting a few weeks ago. And we put in there some information that we talked about there at the meetings, some of the economic activities that they expect to happen. We go to I go to those a couple of times a year, and they're really good information, informative. It's going to be these sheets, Sheila. Okay, all right. But basically, they did warn us that sales tax for the year is coming in under budget. For us, that is not the case, but overall at the state level, they said to be very cautious about budgeting for our sales tax next year because they are seeing that decline. They said, also to expect higher rates. The higher rates will eventually start slowing down the building permits process and sales tax, that sort of thing. So it says every time the feds drop the rates, the sales tax are affected. So these were some of the notes that I took there, but I just wanted to share with you the CPI 6.4, which while we're here, that is where we are starting for the COLA adjustment for the employees. And I can promise you, all of Dare County is using that as a starting number. So if we do not at least do that, we will once again fall behind. So that in working on our budgets, that is what we are using is the I think it's 6.5 is what we have in the budget. And I think Duck on Thursday sent out an email asking everyone the same, and everyone said that's their starting number.
6.5.
6.5.
So let me ask a question on sales tax. You said we don't have to worry. Do we get back to 275? It's 4% and then 275.
So how that works.
How that work? Yeah.
So how that works is it is distributed according to your levy. What that means is what our value times our tax rate is, we get a percentage of that. This is the first year that we're feeling the results of the MSDs that were created. So that means that we're getting more, and I'm going to go over that with when I go over these. But no, that's a great question. But they said overall, sales tax is down, and they think it's because, you know, things are expensive. People aren't able to go out and spend money like they were going to eat, like they used to, going out to eat, that sort of thing. So they did caution us on that. But the good news is they do expect the interest, our money to increase over this year, as you can see on that dot matrix chart there. So we will take that into consideration this year when we're budgeting for our interest.
Bonnie, did they use the word recession?
They did not this time, no,
Okay.
they did not.
I didn't
They
see
did
it in
not.
your notes. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure that no one said
They,
that.
they did
used the
not,
word
they did
recession.
not mention that this time.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do before I go into anything else here, I think it's a good time for us to go over the things that I sent you. I think is also in the packet of the January financials for your revenues and expenditures overall. And the highlights that I want us to take away from that, like I said, even though they are saying that our sales tax, you know, is going to be declining, ours has went up. And what I contribute that to, the town's shared revenue percentage increased as a result of our total levy due to MSDs being established. So we increased from 9.19% to 11.36% for the occupancy tax piece of that. And as a result, our occupancy tax is up about 31% over this same time last year, and sales tax is up 37%. Now, I went back and I said, okay, you know, because it was about $265,000. I said, is most all of this contributed to our MSD? So I went back and I used the old rate time, you know, and seen it, and it was of the 265,000, about 220 of it was a result of the MSD.
Going from
So-
9.6% to 11.3.
9.19 to 11.36. Yes, ma'am.
9.19 to
So-
11.36. Okay.
So that's good. So we're on track for those there, and our building permits are up 57% over the same time last year. As a matter of fact, we only have about $6,000, I believe, until we have reached budget numbers. So those have really came in strong this year. But again, we were warned to not expect that to continue to increase at some point, that those should start decreasing as well. So we'll have to look at that when we're budgeting for the year. The land transfer is doing just like we said it was going to do. It is coming down. So we are down 19% on the land transfer as compared to the same time last year. We expected that. If you remember, when we were doing our budgeting, we said we knew that this was not going to continue the way that it was. So we did budget down for that. I think we will still be fine. I think we're going to probably come in a little bit over budget. But for right now, those numbers ring true with the 19% decrease on the land transfer. Any questions?
Were there any other surprises when you were doing this summary for the end of January?
No, they weren't. Like I said, our taxes, I think we have gotten the bulk of our taxes. As you know, they're due before January the 6th, or you start having to pay interest and penalties and that sort of thing. So we've gotten the bulk of our money in. I was telling Cliff, there are still some 2021 MSD 1 and 2 that have not been collected. But I believe, didn't I say it was about 700? About 700 total, which is overall is very good. So we're on track really well. And our the Powell bill money, of course, you know, the Powell bill is dependent on the miles of streets you have times your population. So the Powell bill, I think they increased the per street that they give us. So this year that came in about $10,000 over what was budgeted. But
When you say not collected on MSD 1 and 2, does that mean the homeowner hasn't paid their
Correct.
real estate taxes?
that's correct.
Really?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right.
Mhm.
Okay.
That happens
Okay,
not often.
just in MSD 1 and 2, not 3?
Well,
That's
the
the town?
townwide, well, the townwide too, but, no,
Okay.
the townwide has been collected. So MSD 1 and 2, and that's probably only a handful of, and it could even be one
Okay.
person.
Okay.
But the county does an excellent job for us. They're at about a 99.65% collection rate every year. I mean,
Okay.
they're top notch, so they're on it.
And that's all on the county. It's
Right.
their job to collect the
Collect the
taxes.
tax.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go through all of that. And like I said, it's the time that I've been here, they've never been below 99.5%. They do a phenomenal job for the town. So, any questions on that?
Overall, it looks like the budget's in pretty good shape.
The budget's in very good shape. I think that probably the next thing, so that you all can make decisions on this, Sheila, do you have that in there for the fund balance?
Yeah, that's in
Yeah.
there. That's in there, yeah.
So if you'll look at that, as you know, we have talked about this lots of times. The unassigned fund balance changes daily. We get a true picture of it once a year, once you record everything. This is what we were giving last year when the audit was presented. And so if things don't change too much from, last year to this year, this is our number. And you'll see at the very bottom there, the art funds of $471,353. If you remember, we did not budget those funds in the general fund this year because no projects were outlined that, yes, we were going to do this. This is the revenue replacement. It's replacing the police salaries. So that frees up the money that we have in the budget to do other things with. So essentially what's going to happen is that money is going to go into the unassigned fund balance at the end of the year. So you can see there, and unless things change drastically, that would leave you a little over $4 million to do projects with this year, next year, whatever you see fit. Questions?
I just remembered a question from a previous page 17. Fire department. It was at 84%
Sheila, can you show me that page?
expenditures,
We budgeted,
Oh, yeah.
we budgeted a million.
which is it was just a number that stuck out to me when I was looking at them. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So the way that the fire department contract is
Page
set up,
17.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
The way that the fire department contract is set up, we make the bulk of the payments twice a year, and that is in July and January. So the only payment left in that budget is a debt service payment. Well, probably two. Let me see, what's the total? Yes.
157.
Yes.
It says 157
Yeah,
is available.
so that is two debt service payments. One will be due in March and one will be due in June, and then that's all. So we the way the contract is set up, that's why it's, yes, because ideally, I mean, you would, 84%, we would be way over budget there, but that's why, because of the way that the contract is paid out.
So in other words, you don't see it being a problem when we get to the end of June. That number is probably going to work itself.
That number will be 100% at June 30.
Okay.
Correct. And the same with your ocean rescue. Your ocean rescue, that is, he's set up on a fiscal year, so I will pay him in May and June, so that number will be at 100%. Those contracts are set up a little different.
And then the police number, it seems to me we're still down a
Yes.
position or two.
We're down
Two
two positions.
positions.
They interviewed for one last week. I think they were making an offer. I'm not aware if he has accepted. So, right, we're still down two vacancies even with that. So,
Okay. So it's hard to say how that number is going to end up at the end of June.
we should be under budget because the bulk of that is salaries.
Okay.
Mhm. The bulk of that is salaries, and we should be, yeah, that should come in under budget. We should have a savings there because of the vacancies.
Okay. All right. Sorry again.
No. Any questions? Okay. Did I get this?
Yeah.
So, along with the finance piece, I also am in charge of making sure we retain the employees that we have and recruit good hires and that sort of thing. So, I've had to take off my finance hat for just a minute and put on the HR hat because it has come time to us to really take a look at some of the things that we have in place. This is the retiree health insurance that is offered to the town. This was let me see. Okay, it was revised in 2014, but when this was adopted in 07, we had 2 sets of employees. So going forward, you had to work for the town for 25 years plus unreduced benefits with the retirement system. Those that were hired before 07 had to work 10 years with the town and unreduced benefits from the retirement system. Now, when I got here, I knew, as rich as it was, that it was a liability to the town because the only requirement was 10 years with the town and you get your insurance paid for life. So that's when this went into place. I knew we had to have other things tied to it because that would be a huge liability for the town. Now, when I say that, where you find this is in the financial statements. If you remember Teresa talking about OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits. Basically what that is insurance that we pay for our retirees. There are several ways that it can be done. The way that we do it is we pay as you go, which means we budget the money every year for the premiums and we pay it that way. There are ways that you can set up a pension trust fund. It's a fund for which we have 2. We have law enforcement special separation that we could do that for, and for the OPEB. We have not done that yet. As a matter of fact, in checking, there's only one town here in Dare County that has done that, and that's Kittable Hills. They fund that and pay from that fund each year. Our auditors said that the way that we were doing it currently was fine, but on paper, that's where it shows up, is in our financial statements in our audit. But when we feel it is each year when we, do the budget. So some of the feedback that I have been getting from employees is, well, there's no incentive to stay here if we have to work for 25 years, saying if I have an employee that's coming in with 10 years of service and they can retire in 20 years, well, they don't meet the threshold, they'll meet number 2, but not number 1 of the 2 requirements, meaning that they didn't physically work 25 years with the town. So I started looking at the other towns because that's our competition out there. It almost seems like we're doing this, to kind of see, okay, where are we? What are the other towns doing? And I got the actual policies from Kitty Hawk and Nag's Head. And what they do is what we call a staggered. So if you've been here 10 to 14 years, the town pays X percentage. 15 to 19, the town pays Y percentage, so forth and so on. And so that way, that is an incentive to the employees. Hey, we value you. When you retire, we're going to pay you 50% of your insurance premiums. So what I did was I've highlighted in yellow, changing from 25 to 20 years. And that would be 100% paid by the town. Employees 15 to 19 years would have 75% paid by the town, and 10 to 14, 50% and unreduced benefits. So they cannot go out with the reduced benefits in the retirement system because they're not going to be eligible. They have to satisfy both number one and number two. Currently, and how this is set up is once they reach Medicare eligibility, the town is not obligated to pay anything for them. Now, the other part under Part B that I want us to look at is only a handful of employees and current. Yes, sir.
I want to make sure I get this straight in my head.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you come to work here when you're 20 years old, you can retire at 40 with full medical benefits until you're eligible for for Medicare.
No.
Okay, that's what I want to get in my head here. All
So
right.
if you come here at age 20,
And you're
as a
retired-
non-law enforcement officer, so I come here at 20, I was much older than that, but 20, I must work 30 years for unreduced benefits. So at 50, I could retire and the town would pay the insurance until I'm Medicare eligible.
But then that's it. They go to
That's right.
Medicare, Right?
That's correct.
So the town doesn't pay the supplemental on Medicare.
That's correct. Not on employees in Part A. I want to make sure that I'm clear here.
Okay.
Employees in Part A, that is how they would be handled. The few employees that fall under Part B, they get a supplement once they reach Medicare eligibility.
Okay.
Um,
Under Part
So-
B, Under Part B.
Yes, under Part B. So the handful of employees that have been here that long will get Part B paid for is how it is currently written. Now, the part that I'm also wanting to change under Part A and Part B, currently we are on what we call an age-banded plan with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. What does that mean? That means we pay according to the age of the employee. After much research, instead of getting a plan where we would pay the same price for my 20-year-old and my 51-year-old self, there's not a whole lot of difference. The reason that I have stuck with the age banded, because it was not a whole lot of money difference to the town, is for the employees who have their dependents covered. It is cheaper to do it this way. And so therefore, the employees, as you know, pay 100% of their dependent coverage, which is offset by the cafeteria plan that we give the employees. So we've left it that way. So just say, for instance, I have a retiree now, and if my oldest employee retires per se, then according to this, nothing has really changed for the retiree. I mean, you know, other than the workforce here has gotten younger, and as a result, he's going to have to pay for part of the premium. So I looked at the other towns to see what they're doing, and they do not limit that. So I'm saying to take that, our retirees that are already retired, in my opinion, it is our responsibility to take care of what, you know, they were given. Now, I have added that we're not going to pay, ours is a $2,000 deductible policy. I'm not going to pay for a $500 policy for the said employee. So they have to have equivalent or lesser. We're not going to pay for a richer policy for them. So this is what I have looked through the other ones, and I'll be glad to share the other towns and what they do. But the sliding scale there, I think that is really going to help us. I mean, we've got some employees who have been here with us for a while, and some that are coming. That is probably an excellent recruiting tool for them. And what we're asking is not outside of what the other towns here are doing. So
Are we a single payer or are we pooling with other?
we're single payer.
We're single, so. all right.
Yes.
So that makes the premiums. easier.
So we used to be in a pool with the league.
Yeah,
There with med costs, it just was not as, it wasn't as
It's not
good as
rich.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I
I
mean,
understand. Okay.
So Bonnie, you mentioned you looked at the town of Nags Head, you looked at the town of Kitty Hawk, but you didn't mention looking at the town of Kill Devil Hills, Manteo, or
so,
Duck.
so Kill Devil Hills, they sent me something, but they do the same thing, but theirs is much richer. I didn't really put them in with theirs. I mean, Duck does not offer a benefit at all. Duck has no retiree insurance for their employees. And Manteo, I didn't get anything. I sent out an email a couple of times and I haven't heard back from either of them. So this is who I heard back from.
Okay.
But Duck does not offer
So
one.
Duck's at 0.
Yes.
Kill Devil Hills is kind of at the opposite end of the scale, and Kitty Hawk and Nags Head is somewhere in the middle. And
Yes.
that's where you are advising the town of
Yes.
Southern Shores to land.
Yes. And, when, as the council, they say, okay, because, this is where my finance officer piece comes in here. Money wise, what are we talking about? So on our financial statements, it's going to affect the liability in our financial statements. That's on the paper that we're required to report. But it will, going forward, if we adopt this is not going to change what we're already doing. So I'm already budgeting in the admin department for 2 retirees. I'm budgeting in the police department for a retiree. I'm budgeting in planning for a retiree. That's already in, so that's really not, this is, looking down the road for any future employees that we have retiring. And it is right now we're already paying for them. So it would just mean a, way of, I just think that this is something that would help the town as far as the recruiting and retaining process.
And it pertains to our law enforcement.
Well, law enforcement, but Sheila's a good example. She said, you can use me as your example. The town clerk's always good to use for an example. So Sheila with this has been here, how long, Sheila? And when she can retire with full benefits from the retirement system, she will have 24 years with the town and will get zilch. So she's pretty, she's a very good example of the kind of employees here. So yes, police, obviously, but there's a bunch of long-term employees. Wes, although Wes should have, Wes, how many years you got here? Same? 14. But you can retire. How many years do you have in the system? 20? 15? So it would be, but see, both of them came after 07. So they would fall in A.
How many retirees do we have? Just curious.
Right now we have, let's see, 4.
4. And we have a $2,000 deductible. With
Yes,
no-
so the
with
plan
no-
that we
no-
have right now
With no
is,
copay, right? No copay?
it's copay.
There's
So
copay on top of the $2,000.
yeah, so what we have right now is $2,000 deductible, $6,000 max out of pocket.
Okay.
And so on the retirees you asked, I've got 2 that we're paying the full premiums for and 2 that we're paying a supplement for. So that's what I'm asking for in this policy.
This is a recruiting.
And was last revised in, did you say 2014?
2014. Yeah.
Seems a little overdue for
Yeah.
revision.
This is a recruiting tool.
Well, it is. And, it's, and like you say, I mean, right now, we're having the vacancies in the police department, but to me, it's also as important, it takes all of the employees in this town for this town to work. And, I'm looking out for all of them, trying to. That's my HR side.
That's what HR does.
Finance side.
Very good.
Okay.
Any other questions for Bonnie?
Do we have to do anything here?
No, but it'll be budget time.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you want to adopt those changes, or are you planning to do that as part of the budget? So I think as part of the budget, we're going to make,
You put those numbers in there.
we're going to put the numbers in there. Like I said, I don't think it's not going to change the numbers as of yet. But if you're good with that, I will also make these changes to the policy and present it as part of the budget process. Yes? Okay.
Can you go through those changes just very quickly on point? So 25 goes to 20. You're eliminating this match. The part that struck out in the second paragraph, can you explain that one more time?
Yes.
The point of
So for instance, currently, just say for simplicity, I pay my oldest employee, I pay $1,200 a month, say, for his or her insurance. And I have a retiree who their insurance right now is, say, $1,000. But my oldest employee retires, and my next oldest employee, then the most I pay is $900 or $600. Then that employee who's retired, that's paying $1,000, we're only going to pay $600 instead of the full amount. And the only thing that has changed is my oldest employee retired. So to me, to the retiree, it's not fair to say, oh, by the way, you're retired, but I need $500.
Our workforce is now younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there another check and balance to that so that it doesn't become? I mean, I don't think it would be different, but
Yeah,
it was there for a reason, I guess.
yeah, and that's why the check and balance is this. I'm not going to pay for you to have a $500 deductible plan. You're going to either have a $2,000 deductible plan or higher, and that's all we're going to
You're not
pay for.
enriching
Is that in the policy somewhere?
Yes, I have put that in there.
Where is that? The town will not pay for a plan richer in benefits and what is
Yeah.
that?
Yes, it's under Part B, and I probably should add that. under
It needs to be
Part
an A as
I will
well.
put that in A
Okay.
as well. Yes,
And then
sir.
it's the same things that are struck out.
Yes,
in the
sir.
second paragraph.
Absolutely.
And then this is very new to me in terms of, I don't have any retirement or benefits in my future. So to get unreduced benefits, you could do 20 years with the town, 10 years with another town and retire at any age.
That's correct.
Okay. I think I understand how that works. now. Let me
Yes,
just spell it
yes,
right.
sir.
We need you to keep working.
Oh, I will.
Or see,
Pay for you.
but see, and the other way is too, so it's age 30 at any age, 30 years at any age of credible service. Now, when I say about credible service, so I'll use my husband as an example. My husband just retired from the state as law enforcement. He worked for 28 and a half years and had enough sick leave to get him to 30 years of credible service.
Mhm.
So our sick leave, you can put towards credible service. You can't put it to make yourself older. I'll use myself as an example. You can retire at age 60 with 25 years in the system. I will have 25 years in the system, but I will only be 58. So I have to work until I'm 60 to get unreduced. So that's how that works.
Gotcha.
Any questions? So if I add that, I'll add that to A as
Okay.
well as not, the part about not having a richer plan than what active employees have.
And that's clear what that means, a plan richer in benefit, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. Excuse me.
Can that be footnoted in the budget when it's presented?
Cliff. What, you want it footnoted about not having a richer policy?
Yeah,
Or just the changes in general.
just the
The
changes,
changes,
just
yes.
to,
Yes. Yes, sir.
so we kind of,
Absolutely.
somebody looks at, they can understand it a little better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions on that?
Nope. Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you. And if you think of any between now and then, you know where to find me.
Mhm.
You go to the streets.
2612394. Press 1.
It's on speed though.
Going back to the streets, this if you agree and consensus, these are the streets we'd like to put out to bid. This follows all of year 2 and it incorporates some of year 3. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because when we get the bids back, what we've budgeted may not cover this entirely. But I don't know that. So I may be coming to you with a request to take fund balance to supplement what's already in the budget to pay for these streets. What I've done and grouped in colors is the type of work that's being done. Mizzenmast and Turtle Pond were both 2 cul-de-sacs that we patched when we should have just gone ahead and overlaid the whole thing. So
Page 12.
this takes care of that. There's a section of Gene Guy near where we've just done the stormwater improvement that's in really bad shape. And this kind of just overlays that part. The next 4, rehab with major with buildup, we'll have to do some, I guess, spot checks. Some of those streets, we may just be able to mill and fill with 2 inches. Those entire segments may not need as much buildup, so that just reduces the cost. So that's just, I put that there because that's what the plan called for, but that's at a most. We may be able to cut that back. We're able to cut that back in the fall. And then the rest are just mill and fills. 9th Avenue is an add-on. There's a portion on the west side of 9th Avenue, the cul-de-sac, that's in really bad shape. That needs some attention. So we've added that to the list. So I'd like to put this out to bid. If you see anything that doesn't make sense, or if you think, okay, why does he skip this street or that street, then we can take a look at that. But if we get this out to bid, again, I may be coming back because we had talked about doing more than we budgeted.
Turtle Pond. What's the matter with what,
We patched it last time.
I rode the bikes up there the other day. That's actually weathered very well. It's very smooth, and you want to redo the whole thing? I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm just making a comment. I'm not a street guy either. Maybe there's something else there, but I mean, it's blended in and smoother, a lot better than it was when it was done. I'm just curious.
It was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Absent what you just said, if we could go back to that time, we would have just done the whole thing and not, pieces and parts because,
Okay.
but
I just want to make sure we don't spend money that we don't.
yeah, and we'll take a look and see.
Okay.
Maybe it's not necessary. But in moving forward, I think if we did another cul-de-sac, of course, I'm not, the mill and fill is going to give us more miles for our money than the patching.
And they did Chickahawk, right near the stop sign.
Yep, that was in,
Spindrift up.
Boy, that thing floods like crazy when it rains.
Well, we fixed one thing and it
Yeah,
didn't fix the other.
okay. I mean, it's amazing how
Stormwater
quickly it
management.
fills up there. And it goes away quickly too. But okay, all right. I don't think anybody would argue with our street plan.
we'll
How
go
much
ahead.
year 3 was brought in?
Sorry.
How much of year 3 was brought in? I can look through and figure it out.
How much
I
is
see it now. You highlighted
Near
it.
3, he's got it highlighted. I think.
Yeah.
You got Hickory, Ocean Boulevard, Periwinkle, and First
What
Avenue.
page?
First Avenue,
And
yeah.
Goose Feather.
What page?
Those are major.
On 25.
Thank you.
Page 25.
I knew I'd seen it somewhere.
Yeah,
What made you pick those? Because they were the major with buildup? Gotcha.
they were
Trying to
like,
group like work together.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But they're pretty low PCIs too.
The
Yeah, there's,
I was thinking First Ave was listed twice, but that's
Goose
the
Feather.
T-head, isn't it? Dead ended, didn't it?
Goose Feather, yeah.
On 9th Avenue, when you put stormwater in there, do you have a plan or are you just, I mean, what are you thinking for 9th Avenue paved / stormwater?
I think it's going to take some work in the right of way, digging swale. And because right now it just is crumbled. It just falls right off. And so there's some
Okay.
shoulder work that's going to need
Okay.
to be addressed.
My eyes are going blind. Where's 9th Avenue?
It's on page 12 at the bottom
That
Oh, okay, yeah.
was an add-on.
Yeah.
and he added it on. But I guess the takeaway is we're not going to see a bunch of patches this time.
Correct.
We're going to see large-ish sections of new pavement.
You'll see what you saw on Soundview
Is
and
that
Hickory,
On Soundview. Okay.
right, and
And
Hickory East.
And Hickory, okay.
It was the thought then that maybe the following year would be largely a patching year,
Well,
given
that,
the program.
that would what the program would call for, and that's when I think we would want to kind of maybe not revisit, but evaluate what we've done so far.
Well, I was just going to say, we would have had a couple years for the patching that we did last year
See
to
how-
be out there, and we could say, we could decide if we like it a little bit better.
How reliable. it
First
is.
thoughts,
Or there's different methodology.
or, yeah.
Because I think, it's still important to keep up with the patching and ahead of it, because
That's
we were
right.
able to move through
Yeah.
some of these rebuilds because of the patching work that was done.
Right.
Is there a plan for the engineer to, before anything gets put out to bid, to re-look at this? Or do you feel like you guys have already re-looked at it enough?
The plan?
The ones
The
that
street
you want to
bid,
put
yes.
out for bid?
Yeah, I think it's partly because it's so early in the plan that we're just sticking with it.
Okay,
And any adjustments would be to year 3
the
and
next
beyond.
year, okay.
And we'll do the evaluation and the oversight ourselves. We won't have a consulting firm with this work.
See if you want to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna put it out for bid.
Yes, sir.
What did we get, one bid last time?
We got one last time. I feel like we'll get two because of the nature of the work. It's
So
It's
they
easier.
did it all at once. They decided to do everything at once because we said you could spread out from the whole fiscal year. Will that be part of the bid to maybe
We'll
split
ha-
it up like that?
well, I think we'll have a
Still give
larger
them the
window.
option.
Huh?
You still want to give them the option.
Option, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna
It
try
seemed to
to,
be less disruptive that way.
well, they're gonna try to
Yeah.
minimize their mobilization costs. That's
Yeah,
what was killing
exactly,
us.
yeah. I mean, if they minimize mobilization costs, maybe the price goes down. I don't know.
We'll give them,
Or you-
typically what we've done is given them a larger window just
Okay.
because we usually get a better price when we
Yeah,
do that.
okay.
Yeah, Barnhill didn't bid because they were not in favor of the patching,
That's right.
program.
I can tell them there was not as many complaints.
Okay.
Yeah, he just felt that they were gonna
The,
feel
se-
heat they didn't want.
the bottom section of Hickory Trail, that's in the top of your pink block. I'm fine including in the bid. Do we want to touch that now or wait until further design on that intersection is done? I'm just putting it out there. I'm fine including the bid pack because it's going to be a unit price anyway, right?
Right.
But maybe there's a similar.
good point.
So have you had any feedback from our residents about the street work that was done last year?
Only the confusion of, we didn't finish what I guess we didn't get the communication to the right person to explain what the patching was. That's the only question the real complaint we've heard. Early on, there were some complaints about what are you doing, why, this is, and partly I think because it's just deviates from what is
Yes, it's
traditionally
different.
done.
Yes, okay, all right. And then what's your proposed timeline for getting this into a bid package and advertising it
Right away.
right away?
Yeah, I mean, we can pretty much mirror the last bid we put out, changing a few words here and there, but we should, this wheel's created.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Cool.
I haven't gotten feedback hardly at all. I mean, it's blending in, it's working. Let's see how it goes the second year. Yeah.
I just think that by having this is going to be just an easier package of street work for people to appreciate because it's not going to have the patching. Because the patching thing was just new to all of us
Yeah.
and we didn't
Good point.
know what to expect. And then when we got it, we were like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, good point.
So I just feel like it's
Maybe
going
just
to be a,
better communications in the newsletter or something.
Yeah.
Just so folks know we're doing it again and we're gonna do it better. Maybe that's a better term. Yeah, we're gonna,
or at least something about what to expect.
it'll look prettier.
Yeah.
An improved process.
And improve, yeah.
And I think the one thing we learned about maybe reduce the tire tracks that, and I don't know how to do that, but there, maybe the paving people know how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can
Maybe,
pay.
maybe contractors know how to do that.
Yeah, you know, to guarantee, close the road for 3 days.
There you go.
I mean, sometimes contractors do things to appease
Or
the
even-
public.
Or even
That's why
12,
they get into
12 to
Guarantee
24
all
hours.
kinds of stuff.
Or what do you need from
No,
us, Cliff,
if-
on this right now?
I think I got it. I think
Okay.
I'll.
You don't need a
like I
motion
said,
or anything?
No, I'll come back if we exceed the budget.
Okay,
Okay.
Very good.
Otherwise, we'll proceed.
all right.
Then really the only other thing I wanted to mention was we're still waiting with the Trinity Culvert to get news from the Coast Guard. And so we may come to you in March with a kind of a half contract with Kimley Horn for work that they could go ahead and get started on, work that needs to be done regardless of the Coast Guard's decision, just so we can get that going. That, of course, would take fund balance. Of the funds that Bonnie just showed you, the culvert itself is going to eat up a lot of that. And maybe some of the additional paving work. And we still, the sidewalk, the survey work's just about done with that. So that'll go. The town engineer will design that soon. That's funds that haven't been budgeted. And then stormwater, I've got, back in 2006 or 5, I guess, was, I know Michael or Matthew was a horrible time, but this must have been worse because there is tons of stormwater information from that time period. We had a study done by a committee. We had Quibel do a pretty extensive study. We had DOT and VHB do a study of NC-12 corridor. So we've talked about putting together some stormwater projects. So I wanted to get these studies, even though they're old, I wanted to get these studies, maybe copy them and let you look at them. And hopefully with the adoption of this year's budget, we can have at least a plan for where we need to start putting some funds towards these projects. A lot's been accomplished, and that's something else I wanted you to see. Since then, a whole lot's been accomplished, but we need a basis to, okay, where are we going with this? Where are we? Because right now we're just kind of doing one-off projects. And so I don't know, after you read this and take a look, whether or not you want staff to try and come up with a similar CIP for streets. And obviously we would try to marry those, like on 9th Avenue is a small example. If you're getting ready to mill and fill 9th Avenue and you got a stormwater project, put them together. So we can, but it's been a long time, even though there's good information here, it's been a long time since we've had an evaluation done. And I'm not suggesting we do that because I think this captures it for the most part. I don't know that we need to go out and do another stormwater study to see where the projects need to be. But I just wanted stormwater is something you put on my list, and I just want to keep talking about it.
Okay.
I think it makes sense for you to come back to us with stormwater that sort of looks a lot like what you've come to us with the streets proposal. I mean, unless you determine that you need some sort of engineering expertise, but it sounds like you don't think that is
Maybe
necessary.
not, but-
Yeah. The only thing I would say, you mentioned the sidewalks, and they're gonna look at both materials, whether it's
Yes,
cheaper
ma'am.
to do concrete or cheaper to do asphalt.
That's correct.
So we can get more sidewalk for our money.
That's right.
Okay.
What is the timeline on that?
Well, at this point, I think it'll be the fall before we start construction.
On sidewalks?
Yeah. I don't think we want to start now.
You
We
don't
have until June of 2024.
You don't have to, because isn't the tourism board giving a grant on that?
That's
And you
the,
have till June of 20.
yeah, that's the deadline on that grant.
You don't have to have an extension,
Not yet.
okay? Because we've had some we've had to approve.
Okay. Any other questions for Cliff right now?
The EMS station, any idea when they're gonna start construction, since everything's resolved?
It's my understanding the county will final approval on their financing. There's a March 7th or the next county meeting, there's a deadline. And I thought it was for the financing. But we haven't seen, have we seen,
They've applied for the demolition permit.
but not the site plan?
They've got to get the demolition permit.
Okay.
But I think that'll, we've said before EMS is going to move into the office building behind.
Right.
Yeah, so the county is doing I guess, some upgrades or whatever they need to do to that building. They're doing that now. So it is progressing.
Any word from Weeks Marine?
We're still meeting bi-weekly. The next meeting's tomorrow. They're planning to come in to Moab in March. There's that.
Been no update from that. Okay.
No.
Is the SSAA agreed to?
Yeah, there's a few parts that we need to work out for the use of Hillcrest, but I don't think any of them are insurmountable.
I was on the beach Sunday, the sand fence looks good. It really looks good. The grass is planted and the beaches are still big.
Is it the Chickahawk one they're wanting to make? I think you said CPOA was going to do
Yeah.
that,
What
but
the-
that's actually owned by SSCA unless they've transferred it.
Well, I know we got an application for a wheelchair accessible switchback ramp to go out onto the beach at the Chickahawk Beach Access. So the contractor skipped it with sand fence.
Yeah,
Just to
I think
give
it's
them
good,
room.
But, did SSCA apply for it or did CPOA?
Nobody's applied for it. Joel Newton came and showed me the paperwork for the camera permit. He hasn't applied for the permit yet.
Must be, then it,
But it would be-
SSCA.
It would be, it would be
Yeah.
SSCA.
Is that SSCA?
Yes,
That's Joel.
they own all of it.
Yeah.
But we refer to it as the Chickahawk Access.
Okay.
It just caught my eye because CPOA does.
Yeah.
They will sometimes chip in, but they don't own it.
And we had talked about that little stretch of sidewalk, speaking of all things Chickahawk access. We talked about that little stretch of sidewalk. Is that going to get done
Yes.
before Memorial Day?
that's the
That's the
plan.
plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, by the.
We're going
at
to
the
widen
light?
that
At the light?
sidewalk
Access that
from
goes
the parking lot
Yeah.
Okay. and make it a little bit more
You know,
accommodating to more people.
So the CPOA fixed a bunch of sidewalks on Juniper and Trinity. Everybody thinks that's owned by the city.
Yeah.
Very few folks know that's owned by the CPOA.
Yes.
And so I had neighbors saying, why don't you just fix the whole thing? And all they do is a section that's busted up. So I reminded them that's in their CPOA dues. If you want the dues to go up, that's how they fix it.
Yeah.
Got
That's good.
$120, which is.
Huh?
It looks good.
It does.
I paid mine the other day.
Okay.
Any other questions for Cliff or staff? Cliff, are you done with us?
I'm done. Yes, ma'am.
Council, any announcements? Our next meeting is March the 7th.
I just want to, at our next meeting, bring up the possibility of a donation to the healing wall.
Okay,
Kill Level Hills budgeted or has agreed to contribute $5,000.
okay.
I was going to suggest us at 3, but
For the wall that heals.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking along the lines of the playground fund that they're setting up for the Kitty Hawk Elementary School. If we wanted to include anything of that in our budget discussions this year.
another contribution kind of thing. Okay, so we just need
I
to
meant
bring
to
up
say it, I forgot.
contributions when we talk
Yeah.
next. Okay,
but I'd like to give them that commitment at our next meeting.
Okay.
If we could. I'm saying 3, y'all might have someone on it.
They're not fully funded?
No, because they've been asking for donations. And as I said, Kill Level Hills, I saw.
Veterans organizations and those kind of things are paying for the whole thing. They
Yeah.
always have.
I just remember it's a
Yeah.
So
I know the group.
They're looking for donations. I do.
The interest rate will continue to rise, so we'll continue to make money on interest.
Just spend all the interest income.
yeah,
Well, we've got a fair number of veterans in.
Oh, yeah, without a
And
doubt.
I think, and if you don't understand that, at November 11th, this room was full.
was. All right, council, well,
We need to adjourn, I guess.
how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're adjourned.
You got
I got a skeet out.
a luncheon, don't you?
Yeah, I gotta run and speed to my